Hunter Renfrow is returning a punt. The punt carries out of bounds. He makes the catch, but at the same time rolls into Davante Adams' knees. That's Derek Carr's offense right there, colliding with one another during a special teams here. But everybody's fine.
Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver Davante Adams and Hunter Renfrow had a collision at camp, and that is some scary stuff. And it got me thinking, who's the next best wide receiver we have on this team outside of those two players? We're going to get into all the wide receivers, Lester Cotton Sr.'s rise in the Raiders offensive line, what he had to say today. And then we're also going to talk about some more news around training camp as the Raiders wrap up one of their final practices before the Hall of Fame game this Thursday. Like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe to the Raiders Rundown for more Raiders content. James Palmer talking about what's happening. The breath was held. You saw the comment earlier from them, had that collision on the sideline. Man, probably really scared Derek Carr and Josh McDaniels, really, because outside of those two guys, who do we have? We still have Darren Waller, an amazing tight end, who, by the way, was not at practice for a second day in a row. Let's hope that's no big deal. But hey, he wasn't at practice for the second day in a row. Look, probably because it's a Hall of Fame game, we have an extra preseason game. It's a little earlier. You're going to have a lot of players not participate in this upcoming game. And that's probably why you have people like Chandler Jones missing 4 practices in a row at this point, and Darren Waller missing 2, some intense stuff. We're going to get into who was here at practice today as well. But Mack Hollins, a wide receiver, former Miami Dolphin, you know he's making plays. We've heard a lot about him, the fact that he was a former team captain with the Miami Dolphins last year and even made that amazing play against the Raiders in 2020 when Ryan Fitzpatrick threw a deep ball to Mack Hollins over net way while being face masked, and the Dolphins were able to beat us even though we had the lead. But hey, Jarrett Stidham is throwing some dots to Mack Hollins at camp, and that's good to see. Hopefully we'll see Stidham a lot in this upcoming preseason game. And the thing about Mack Hollins, you go over his stats in his whole entire career, drafted in the 4th round by the Philadelphia Eagles, had his rookie season in 2017, really has never ever cracked over 300 yards in a single season of his career. And you've heard the talk, you know, he's tried to make use of himself and get some opportunities in special teams, but still hasn't really had command of a full season as a wide receiver. But you saw him at least get the most targets in his career last year with 28 targets. You know, PFF grades, you take him with a grain of salt. I really like the fact that he has 4 touchdowns last year. That's cool because that shows that he is a red zone threat. The fact that he only has 223 yards on 14 receptions, but has 4 touchdowns, you know this guy is going to be a big body target in the red zone for Derek Carr. And Derek Carr has traditionally liked those types of players in the red zone. That's why we have somebody like Davante Adams. That's why you've seen people like Jared Cook even do really well with Derek Carr. And I hope this type of play continues, especially with Mack Hollins. But other people do want an opportunity. Demarcus Robinson is going to want to try to fight and, you know, get his reps. And out of all these receivers, when you talk about Demarcus Robinson, Mack Hollins, Keelan Cole, who we'll get into, and Tyron Johnson, who we'll talk about in a second, when you look at all of these receivers, Demarcus Robinson really is the one that has, I would say, the largest body of work and the deepest resume. And that comes with being on the Chiefs and being the number 2 or the number 3 guy several times behind Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, of course, and it's led to him getting 25 receptions last year, 45 receptions the year before, tons and tons and tons of targets, and also, what's really interesting, he's actually eclipsed over 400 yards in a single season in his career. 2019 was the year where he balled out against the Raiders, and I think he had about all 4 of his touchdowns against us in that week 2 game in 2019. So cool that we picked him up. We know he has the ability to make plays after the catch. Perhaps he'll get more opportunities than Mack Hollins, and I hope a lot of these guys, Robinson, Hollins, Keelan Cole, I hope a lot of them get a lot of opportunities in this upcoming preseason game because we got to get this situated. You know, who's going to be the number 2 outside guy? We got to figure this out soon, and we don't have much time as the season is about to start. Now, we do have Tyron Johnson's numbers here. We've talked about him before on this show. Really hasn't had much work with the Raiders. All these 2 receptions that he had last year were actually with the Jacksonville Jaguars until the Raiders eventually picked him up. But with the Chargers, we've seen those big plays. We saw him make a big catch over, Jonathan Abram, with the Chargers in 2020. Tyron Johnson did really well there. And here you have it, 20 receptions with the Chargers. Deep playability, 19 yards per reception, big, deep plays, more yards in a single season just in 2020 than Mack Hollins has had in his entire career. So that just shows how big of an opportunity this guy has in order to maybe even push out Mack Hollins for that number 2 outside role. It's going to be really interesting to see. And you saw Derek Carr in the press conference really compliment Keelan Cole and talk about his ability to, change his body in different directions in order to make some of those tough receptions. And you see Keelan Cole with probably, for a fact, the most yards in a single season out of every player on this list who we're talking about, 748 his rookie season in 2017. Really impressive stuff for Keelan Cole, who spent a year with the Jets last year, but was primarily with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And there were times where he was like the number 1 guy, for the Jaguars, maybe even number 2 at times. But still, this guy has been productive, knows what it's like to get tons of targets in a regular season, has started multiple games, and he's going to be a tough guy to keep off the field as well. So what I really do like when we're talking about this collision with Renfrow and Adams, and yes, they're both fine. We know they're both fine. They're great. That's what they said at the top, according to NFL Network. But when you look at all these people we have underneath them, there's a lot of depth there really quietly. And usually that's tough to pull off when you have a lot of guys on 1-year deals. Usually you get that depth when you have a lot of players on their rookie contracts and it's sort of stacked and aligned very perfectly. But this is a situation where we have tons of people who aren't the youngest, aren't the oldest, but have solid resumes, have demonstrated the ability to compete at the NFL level in several occasions, in several seasons, in different ways. And Keelan Cole is the more accomplished one. Demarcus Robinson, I would say, would be second to that. And then you have Mack Hollins, but then Tyron Johnson. Tyron Johnson, yes, he's only had a few seasons, but picking up that many yards with the Chargers, that's very impressive, and we do need that speed, which Tyron Johnson does have. So cool to see all these receivers. Going to be interesting to see what happens with them at the rest of training camp and the rest of preseason as we go on to face the Jacksonville Jaguars in the Hall of Fame game on Thursday. And on Thursday, we will be live during the game. So make sure you turn on notifications, check back on this channel on Thursday, and hang out with us during the game. And also tomorrow, Tuesday, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, we will be live talking about the Raiders, wrapping up everything that's happened in training camp so far. So make sure you don't miss it tomorrow, Tuesday, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. We will be live. Hey, there's some players that we still haven't seen at practice. Britton Brown, really haven't seen this guy on the field since the big hit by Darren Butler. So linebacker Darren Butler had a monster hit on Britton Brown. Britton Brown was a victim of that. And, it's a positive because you hype up one player, Darren Butler. Oh, he's knocking people out. But at the same time, it'd be nice to see Britton Brown on the field because we're going to need him to get some reps in this upcoming preseason game. And hopefully that could still happen. And for Raiders fans and just for our own fandom, even if it might not be the safest thing, I do hope it's a Zamir White show a little bit on Thursday. I do really, really want to see a lot of Zamir White, what he's capable of. We do have a little film that we did on Zamir White. Make sure you check it out. Zamir White is tougher than you. And we talked about Chandler Jones and Cleveland Farrell and Darren Waller also missing. But it seems like a lot of these people are perhaps getting some time off because of the Hall of Fame game. Maybe they want to get some other guys ready and get them the majority of reps. And by the way, the practice today was primarily a walkthrough. They were going at a very slow pace when you take a look at it. And in addition to that, tomorrow, it's going to be a really, really chill walkthrough. Now, Lester Cotton Sr., you saw him talk at the press conference, talked about how he changed his life.
When I got released in 2020, I think, my second year, it was a big wake-up call. I spent 10 months out, and I had to really, like I said, look myself in the mirror and, say if this is what I'm going to do, I have to lock in and be 110%. That's what I've been doing every day. I got closer to God. I really had to lean on him. I really had to put my faith first in him, and he really kind of led the way for me. I kind of stopped trying to go my own route and started going the route that he was giving me. And once I finally like gave in to that and put my faith in that, and stuff just started happening.
And it's interesting to see this guy sort of know that he has to get his mind right in a certain way. And now he's excelling. He's rising in the depth chart. You saw Derek Carr the other day praise him and talk about how he's going to, he looks like he's taking advantage of this opportunity. Really cool to see this guy really motivated and rising. Seeing the hard work pay off is always great, because in a regular season, he has only had 5 snaps in his whole entire career. And that came last year against the Chargers. Lester Cotton Sr. came in for a little bit. Here's his numbers. And just 5 snaps is all he's had in his NFL career in a regular season game. So interesting to see, if you keep grinding it out, keep working hard, you could really splash and perhaps turn it into something special. And it'll be interesting to see if Lester Cotton Sr. is for sure the starting right guard. We know we've heard some things about tackle. Brandon Parker looks like he has the edge in terms of right tackle. And people have talked about, if Brandon Parker wins that job, do we just slide Leatherwood to guard? I'm not sure if that's automatically assumed. People have said that they have not seen Leatherwood play any snaps at guard this year. You've heard that from a lot of beat reporters. So, it's probably Lester Cotton Sr.'s job to lose right now at right guard, with John Simpson starting at left guard. I'm excited for this upcoming game. I hope to see you guys at this live stream. Like this video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the Raiders Rundown for more Raiders content. My name is WiFiWillie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.